Hey guys, welcome back to Real Talk Rates and Repeat with your hosts. I'm Gary Lai, and I have my regular host, Queeny Duong here.
Been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Well, probably in real time too. We've been trying to release more and more episodes. Queeny had to release her own little, thing. A new
Release her
edition.
own little thing.
A new edition. So congratulations, obviously. Now you're a
Thank you,
family
thank you.
now you're a family of four.
Yes.
Uh, how does it feel?
Family of four. Well, I haven't slept in about 5 weeks. So how does it feel? I don't know how it feels. I don't feel much of anything right now.
Mm,
No, but in all seriousness, it's been pretty good. I mean, the normal stuff with a newborn, I haven't been getting that much sleep, but she's cooperative, starting to be cooperative now. So
mm.
feels good, and she's cute. So I'll take that.
There you go. There you
hmm
go. That's amazing.
I am glad to be back though, and recording and working and kind of some normalcy.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, you're normal, but not the real estate market, and
No.
definitely not this episode that we're going to talk about because you got some stories you want to share, don't you?
Yes. Yes. I mean, this doesn't really track with our other episodes in terms of like the nature of the story, but I think this
Hmm.
is definitely it falls into the bucket of like horror stories, I think, in the real estate world.
Okay.
Um, Especially for landlords. And
Cool.
I don't know how familiar everyone is or Gary with the New York real estate rental laws and what side the rules and regulations really favor in general. I mean, it's kind of known to the public, I think, that the New York City rent rules or rental laws
Hmm.
favor tenants, right? That's kind of just how it is. And this story is very particular to how like a landlord is now going through kind of their own hell because of
Okay.
this. So I'm just gonna dive in and talk about
Go
like
ahead.
everything this tenant's doing that's like creating hell for this landlord, right? Um, Again, this is New York City. It's in Brooklyn. Gary, you're frozen. So
Am I frozen, or was I
I
just
mean
not
now
moving?
I can't tell. Now you're moving. So like just constantly keep moving so I know you're still there. All right. Um, oh my God. So how do I even start with this? So this landlord has
I gotta. Well, Queen said I gotta keep moving.
yeah, I like that. I mean, it's making me a little dizzy, but it's good. I'm just gonna look at myself. So this landlord, it's Brooklyn, New York City, rent stabilized. I think that's really the key word. You hit rent stabilized and you're just like, ugh, you know. I don't know if you guys know.
I gotta ask, why do people do that? They're like, it's in
Buy
Brooklyn.
a rent stabilized.
No. They're like, it's in Brooklyn, or they'll be like, it's in Queens, New York City. I'm like, it's not New York City. Why do people do that?
Okay. See, this where we're heading right now? This is the
I'm just
like,
curious. Just curious.
okay. You're actually absolutely correct.
I'm just saying. People, I mean, you're not the only one that does it. Like everybody does that, and it's just like Flushing is not New York City. Like people
It's
are
so
like,
it's
oh,
so funny. Okay. I think it's people who where'd you grow up?
Jersey.
Okay.
But
That's
like the majority of my life is just basically hopping the turnstile on the path train and just coming into the city all the time. So
I think for you to catch that, the only time someone's called me, like the few times that someone had called me out on that or had brought up this topic are
yeah,
people that's not from Brooklyn, New York City, or Queens.
well,
Because it's true, because they look at all the five boroughs as
New York,
that's it.
New
No,
York.
it's actually New York. It's New York City.
Yeah, that's debatable. That's debatable.
Manhattan, right? Manhattan is what people call New York, it's the city, right? But it's actually Manhattan. New York City is a five borough.
No, no, I don't believe it. Okay.
Okay, anyway,
Anyway,
this property is in Brooklyn, New York State. Uh, is that better?
Kings County. Let's get more
It's
Kings
in Kings
County.
County.
There you go.
God, you throw me off. Now I don't remember the story I was about to tell.
Landlord tenant issues.
Landlord tenant issues. So the property is a rent stabilized building. So that in itself
Mm,
is kind of a bit of a horror, right? Like I don't know if you guys know, like for anything 6 units, or is it like 4 units and above, less over 4 units, right? Um you don't have you technically can't rent out at market rent.
mm,
So it's sort of, how do I put this? There is a way, you have to actually register the rents for each unit every single year in
mhm.
order to be able to increase the rent year over year by a maximum of 3%.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're starting off at like say $1,500, do you know how long it's going to take for you to actually be able to get anywhere near what market rent is? It's almost impossible. So,
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but I also feel like it's also because of the areas that get a lot more gentrified and a lot more like, desirable.
but you also can't, like, the area may be desirable, but if the building is rent stabilized, um, you can't even do the renovations to the building to make it, like, to say upgrade it in order to, increase the rent or bring it to market rent. It's just permanently a rent stabilized building.
Mm, okay.
But anyway, that's not the point of the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah. Issues.
It's the notion is that there's this tenant in that building that has a rent stabilized unit that is pretty much, impossible to evict at this point. But he has created, again, this kind of nightmarish hell for the landlord where the first thing is he never pays rent on time, apparently. He's always about 2 to 3 months behind, if not paying, a couple $100 here and there. So there's this chronic late payment when it comes to rent, right? So that's just to preface the nature of this tenant. He is not cooperative in that sense. Secondly, he went and apparently installed a washer in this super duper old, like pre-war building that is not equipped for a washer. In order to put a washer and dryer in a unit, it has to be, the plumbing has to be a certain way, the building has to be done a certain way, so then it can actually sustain and support that type of electricity and water flow, right?
Hmm.
So this tenant put a washer in the building, did not notify the landlord, which is also a breach of the lease.
Yeah.
Um, but, the landlord doesn't know about this. Therefore, this washer has been there for years, which like the excess water flow over the course of years damaged the pipes, which then collapsed the ceiling of the unit underneath. So it's kind of like the bathroom of the second floor unit is the same as the bathroom it's like right above the bathroom of the first floor unit.
Yeah, yeah,
So when the pipes burst or like there's like this, the pipes didn't burst. It was a constant leaking because of the excess water that then corroded the ceiling, and then the ceiling literally collapsed. And just to kind of put the little cherry on top, this all happened on Christmas Day. So the landlord, of course, gets notification that like, hey, my ceiling just collapsed. And mind you, this tenant where their bathroom ceiling fell down on, they have two little children.
oh my
So I
God.
think one was like 1 year old and the other one was like 3. So they have a collapsed ceiling on Christmas Day with little kids running around the apartment. It just wasn't very fun. So now there's this dialogue between the landlord and the tenant with the washer, and he insists it wasn't his fault. It's not, It didn't damage the pipes. The building's old, the pipes are old anyway. Meanwhile, apparently it was fine in the whole building.
But he installed an illegal washer.
Yeah, well, he was saying that the previous owner knew about the washer.
Oh, so this
So
tenant was inherited by
it
the
was
landlord?
inherited tenant, yeah. So what's your take on that? The previous owner knew about this, therefore it's okay.
Yeah, but you're the new landlord, so it's not okay. Anything like this because you're liable for anything like this.
So it's not okay.
When I say you, obviously not you, but the landlord.
Right. But how do you approach this if the tenant was like, okay, well, it's not me who damaged the pipes. Like how, it's almost hard to prove even if you get a plumber in there. They can't say, well, this is because of the washer. They can say, yeah, there's water leaking and it's dripping, blah, blah, blah. Like it's almost like a he said, she said situation.
I understand it's a he said, she said situation, but that doesn't change the fact that you're not supposed to have a washer in your unit.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether the previous owner knew it. The new owner,
Mm-hmm.
the new landlord, I'm assuming the new landlord didn't know about it, right?
No, I mean, they wouldn't have allowed that to happen, especially if
Exactly.
it's going to collapse the building.
I'm wondering if the landlord ever did like an inspection on the property before. Like, like turnover, like you're supposed to go take a look and things like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I guess the other part of this is, from my understanding, the landlord didn't expect every single unit because they trusted the person that negotiated the deal for them. So it was kind
mm,
of like, okay, it's a good deal. Like, let me, what's the rent roll? Things like that. And like they kind of went along,
gotcha.
so because it's an investment. So it was more like, let me see the numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was kind of, there's that, but that's not even the worst thing that the tenant did. Well, actually, I don't
Well,
know. It could
I'm
be
curious. I'm
collapse the
curious.
ceiling, but
I'm curious. Was an appraisal done on the property? I mean, it's a 6 unit, so I'm assuming they had an appraisal done.
no, because it was purchased all cash. So there was no need for
Mm,
financing, so an appraisal wasn't done. Um, as a matter of fact, see, this story can branch in so many different directions because part of it is, okay, what about an inspection? Was an inspection done? Because even if there was no
right.
appraisal, there's no mortgage, you technically should do an inspection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is kind of one of those lesson learned kind of things because it's like, how much do you trust the person negotiating the deal for you? Especially if, so the person negotiating the deal, if they're the realtor and they're a realtor that is in charge of, or that you have entrusted in, making certain investment decisions for you and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you kind of think like, okay, well, they're the realtor, they should know, they have the experience. But then the inspection didn't happen. There was no inspection. So it's kind of like shame on the owner for um, not being more diligent. But then there's also this expertise that you put on, for example,
The
a
real
real
estate
estate
agent.
agent,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there's, what's your take on that then?
I mean, it takes a lot of trust to, especially for investors. Like, I mean, I don't know this landlord or anything, obviously, but like, if they're not in the area or if they're like away or things like that, like having that trust and, a lot of investors, they have real estate agents that they primarily work with and they trust and, it's like you said, they just have full faith in and like
Yeah,
the
and they look at the numbers and the numbers make sense. Okay, like then they kind of just
numbers make
they
sense. It's
go.
like,
Right.
minor repairs needed here or there and that's it. Typically they trust their expertise and they trust everything. I feel like this is, like you said, one of those lesson learned types of things that sort of just slip through the cracks in the ceiling.
And
I don't know.
you're so clever. I'm glad
I
you find this so funny.
mean, I feel bad, but it's like, okay. So let's just go further, right? Because this is only one thing. This is only one thing you said this tenant did, right?
Yes.
That's what they said.
Yeah. Well, it's the second thing because it's the chronic late payments.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's this washer that broke a ceiling. And then it's so the other thing that this tenant apparently did done d- did has done or did Yeah, okay. Um,
Lack of sleep.
Geez, lack of sleep. I mean, newborn. I'm like half the person that I am. I have half the
Uh,
brain that I remember the episode about like
yes,
the
pregnancy
brain
brain.
being smaller. Yeah, it apparently hasn't grown back yet. So, um, the other thing is there's, wherever you are, it's not like a Brooklyn thing. There's zoning, there's certain
Mhm.
DOB rules that you have to abide by and things like that, right? Um, so this tenant, same tenant, uh, doesn't like to look for parking apparently. So there is this quasi illusion of a driveway in front of the building that you can kind of, from the corner of your eye, I think that it's a driveway, but if you really look at it, it's not. It's not a legal driveway. You can actually tell from the side of the building that there's no car that can fit in there. Like it's not a driveway. It's not legal. It's not even physically able to fit a car. But this tenant decided, hey, there's a fence there. So if I paint the curb, it can give the illusion of a driveway. Therefore, people will not park there. So then he can park on the sidewalk. You following? So it's kind of like it's sidewalk parking, but if you think that there's a driveway there, you can't park there. So he painted the sidewalk so then other cars, when they're driving by, they'll be like, oh, this is not a parking spot because this is someone's driveway. So
Yeah,
then when he comes home from work or whatever, just to, apparently he's an Uber driver, so having a space to park is pretty important. He can park there. Okay. But the problem is it's not
illegal. Yeah,
it's not a legal driveway. And secondly, you can't just alternate curbs.
no, no,
Um, alter. See, pregnancy
yeah.
brain. You can't just alter curbs. You can't paint them. You can't do anything to them. It's
City
not,
property.
yeah, it's not like, it's city property. So the landlord tells the tenant, like, hey, you can't like, you can't do that. You can't paint the curb. You can't, alter the curb. You can't do anything that's not part of your own property. And the tenant insists that like everyone does it. This is the block. Like if you look at the other buildings, they do it too. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other buildings do because it's illegal. So if we get a violation, you get a violation.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
that's what the landlord tells the tenant. And the tenant's like, okay, well, fine. We'll repaint it back. But furthermore, he goes and calls 311, which is the informational, hotline, right, with the city. And he says, well, I've been living here for years, and my landlord's telling me that this is not a legal driveway. I want to know if it's actually a legal driveway. So from this call, it triggered the DOB to send an inspector, a building inspector, to the property. And then they saw that it's not a legal driveway, but also saw that the curb was altered because it's not that easy to remove concrete paint. So even though um, the landlord tried to remove the paint, there was still remnants of it, especially it wasn't like the DOB person came right away. They came months later. So it weathered through
Yeah,
winter,
yeah.
the rain, the snow. So it removed a lot of whatever was there to try to cover the yellow paint. So that landlord got a violation, and it was anywhere between $1,500 and $6,000, a court hearing, proof that it was fixed, a whole bunch of stuff. Where do we go from there with this tenant?
I mean, I would probably reach out to a tenant landlord attorney, figure out like how to get this person out because it just seems like this person is way more headaches than anything else.
Oh,
You're
100%.
you're not paying your rent on time, right? You're altering property that's not yours, and your excuse is everybody else is doing it. Well, it's not your property. Like you're paying for the right to occupy a space. That doesn't mean that space is yours. It's
Yeah.
somebody else's. So I just gotta ask. It doesn't really like. Is this person like an older person or a younger person? I'm just curious.
No, as a younger person. So it's kind of like, and when I say younger, this person is like, I want to say, from my understanding, like our age. I think we're pretty young.
No, we're not. We're totally not young.
What do you mean?
You
So
think it.
you would
You
consider,
you
so
you think you're young. We're not young. I could pretty much tell. Like when I wake up, I'm not young. Like it takes a while to wake up. Like oh, we're not young.
speak for yourself.
Okay,
I pop up like a spring chicken.
let's go out for a night of drinking, and then let's see how fast you wake up the
I
next day.
haven't done that in a while.
Yeah,
We
because we're
should.
not young anymore. Because we're not young.
You're not young. I was pregnant.
That is true. I don't have that excuse. I don't have that excuse.
Exactly.
And you like if you're feeding your child, yeah, you shouldn't definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. It has nothing to do with age. I'm just trying to be a responsible
Yeah,
young person. A young lady. I'm a responsible young lady.
I'm not young. I
No,
definitely don't
you're
feel young.
not.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay, so but what does that have to do with the tenant? Like, let's say he was an old man, right? Would
I'm
we,
just
does
just
that mean
so
you give him some grace? Is that
no. I just feel like there's certain expectations, like especially like in the younger generation, that I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's just like something's missing. Like they just don't like comprehend things a certain way.
well, I think there's definitely a little bit of entitlement,
Yeah.
because the same tenant apparently requests certain things from the landlord constantly. I want a new faucet because my wife wants one that looks better. Um,
Oh, and he's
the
married,
bathtub. I'm sorry.
and they're married, and he's married.
Yes, he's married. I don't know. I mean, like, if I wasn't paying rent, I would stay so far away from that landlord. I wouldn't be calling the landlord to ask for like a new kitchen faucet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Did it break? Did it break?
No, it doesn't look good. Yeah.
My God,
He's
there's
like, well, I live here. This is my home. I'm not okay
no.
with
It's not
things
your
looking
home.
this way. I'm like,
Then
hmm,
pay for it
pay
yourself.
rent first.
Yeah. The audacity people have to like
Yeah.
ask for these things. They don't pay rent on time. They have illegal appliances in the unit, and they're doing things to cause the landlord to get violations. Like that is just crazy. So wait, do you know if the landlord has like tried to evict them?
So to go back to your suggestion about like, oh, you would speak to a landlord tenant attorney and like things like that, right? So with some research, New York City um, rules in terms of like with evicting tenants, you have to give proper notice. You have to have grounds for eviction. There's different types. Are you doing a holdover? Um, there's a lot you have to do before you can actually say, hey, I'm going to evict you now. And even then it can take months before you would go to court for the eviction.
Mm-hmm.
And after you go to court, there's also, and this is where they say that the laws are in favor of the tenants because you first of all, when you send out these notices, you have to give the tenant time to cure the issue. You can't just say, because you did this, I'm evicting you. It has to be like, first notice, this is a notice of chronic late payment. This is a notice that you painted the curb. This is a notice that you hit a washer. And there's complaints from like other units saying that this tenant is like loud or disruptive, so that could be part of it as well. And with all that, you have to give the tenant time to fix all that stuff. So it has to be like, hey, this is your cure date. By this date these items need to be fixed, right? So it's not even like, you're doing all this, I want you out, right? Theoretically, you could say, hey, you're doing all this, you breached the lease, you need to leave. But if they don't leave, an eviction,
Mm-hmm.
like, you start the eviction, what the court is going to ask is like, okay, well, did he fix those items? Right? Like, is it all within reason? Like it's very much like, did you give him time and enough notice to fix the issues you had with him? So there's always that too.
Yeah, I was about to say something really mean, but I'm not. I'm just going to keep it, and I'm going to keep it internally.
And also, a lot of times, a lot of the like stuff like this costs the landlord money, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, hey, I want to start eviction on this tenant, that means you cannot collect any rent from him.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's like eviction for like non-payment, right? So the second you collect any rent, that's no longer grounds for you to evict anymore. But the problem is not all landlords can go months or a year without collecting rent.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pretty much saying, you know what, if you have the means for it, that puts you in a slightly better position as a landlord. But let's say you don't, then you're almost forced to accept this type of tenant. It's a pretty it's a pretty crappy position, I think, personally.
That's crazy. As far as just having that relationship between the landlord and the tenant and the interactions,
Yeah.
if I were to dissect it or like really think about it, like things to like learn from it, obviously, like like we've talked about it before, is obviously doing your due diligence up front. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't think that just because you purchase a property doesn't mean you have to inherently inherit, for lack of a better word, these tenants. Right?
Yeah.
I still feel like these tenants still should be going through like a vetting process. You know,
Yeah.
I'm surprised the seller didn't even mention anything about this guy.
So,
Was the seller
yeah.
were they related to the previous owner?
No,
Interesting.
it it actually would have made a lot more sense if the seller was related, right? I
Yeah.
think, um, being involved with like this transaction myself,
Hmm.
like I know some of the details about it, so I can tell you, the seller, there was a lot of red flags to start with. At the closing, the seller was kind of like, oh, it was a husband and wife. So older couple. It was actually kind of like cute how this worked out. Not so cute for the buyer, but cute in general.
Yeah.
So the seller, older couple, and at the closing, the couple was talking, like the wife was like, "Oh, um it's overall it's a nice building. The tenants, they don't give you a lot of issues. Like see, they eventually pay rent, right?" And then you see the husband kind of like like nudging the wife like stop talking. And then of course the buyer, was just like, "Oh, okay," like caught it, but didn't
Think too
like.
much.
You're at closing. Like you're not thinking like, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" Um, but it was kind of red flag number one.
Wow.
So yeah, it was quite interesting story.
Yeah, it is
In
quite
terms of
interesting.
just like, something not so out of the world, but just like, I think something like this happens more often than you think. I think a lot of landlords go through this.
Mhm.
Um, and it's almost like you hit a point of like desperation where you're just like, what? Like you're stuck, right? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't do anything, for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I know somebody whose tenants, uh, they are also of the, I guess, what generation are we on? Gen Z?
I don't even know.
Well,
After your comment, we're just in the old generation, apparently.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm Gen X, right? Or is my wife is she? I think she calls herself as a Zennial, whatever. She's in between a millennial and a Gen X, right?
Okay.
It really depends on what year you're born, but I'm pretty sure, like, I know that these tenants of somebody I know, uh, like, they're younger, and it's a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The girlfriend is very responsible, very respectful, things like that, but the guy is like just I don't know what it is. Just the way he was raised. It's like everything has to be like handed to him. It's like he doesn't have. There's just no self awareness. And it's just like one time we got a text. It's just like, oh, I think there's mold growing in the bathroom, and it's like literally like three little dots, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, have you guys like one? Do you guys turn on the fan after you shower? Because there's no window. There's no window in this bathroom, right? It's an
Hmm.
interior master bedroom in a condo, so it's not facing outside. Like there's a fan for a reason, right?
Yeah.
The humidity. There's a fan for a freaking reason.
Yeah.
You turn on the fan. No. And mind you, they've been living there for almost 2 years. So you take hot showers, you don't turn on the fan.
There's gonna be mold.
Well, I mean, luckily it was only three dots, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't extreme because it's we repainted it like
Hmm.
so I was like, did you try wiping it? No.
Can you come do it for me?
I almost no, I seriously think they wanted me to hire somebody to go there and whoop.
Yeah.
Uh, and speaking about rents, it's just the rent is X, right? It's due every month, but they like to split it up where she's responsible for one portion and he's responsible for the other.
Yes.
But guess what happens? She pays her portion the first of the month, and what does he do? La, da, 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 da. They pay it at the very last second before they get a late fee. So it's just like a lot of little tiny things, like springtime, right? Like I don't think I'm the only one. I get it in my house. I know other people, but like springtime comes around, you get a lot of like ants. Ants start like waking up.
Hmm.
They they find any little tiny thing,
Yeah.
any little tiny crevice. It's and I'm not saying having bugs inside your house is okay, right? But like,
Hmm.
but be aware, right?
Right.
Be aware of the
Yeah.
situation. They text me. They're like, "Oh my god, we have a few ants in our kitchen." Mind you, the kitchen has French doors that open, and obviously, there's going to be little tiny cracks. I'm like, "Oh my god, is it an infestation?" It's like there's a lot of ants. No, we've seen like 5 ants. I don't know what to say. I'm like, it's 5 ants. It's
Yeah.
springtime. They're not like 8-year-old kids. Like this, like it's a grown person. It's just the self awareness and just like you know,
Is equivalent to an 8-year-old kid.
it is sometimes, right? But some of the people, like you said, they feel very entitled. They feel like you need to do everything for them, things like that. I don't have like obviously there's nothing as horrific as what this other landlord went through, like
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, but it all falls under the same category, right? Like, come to think of it, I'm not really sure how old this tenant is, but the actions of it probably, it does resonate with someone that's younger because of that, lack of self-awareness and the entitlement, right? Like needing things to be done for them. I mean, there was a complaint that was something along the lines of like, oh, it's winter time. It was really cold. It's really cold. I need the heat turned up. It's really cold in here, right? My kids are gonna get sick. And of course, landlords, if you're, a caring landlord, you're gonna be like, oh no, you have young kids, like we don't want you getting sick. What's wrong? Like, let's go check it out, right? So we check it out, and well, for one, the window was open, right?
Oh my god.
So it's kind of like, but mind you, this is also like a dire, like 11 p.m. late night, like, oh my God, it's so cold, the heat's not working call, right? So it's like you rally the troops, to go and check the property to make sure, everyone is safe in there. Um, and it turns out that, a window was open, and then also an AC unit, a wall window AC unit was still installed. Like it was still there, which means that there's cracks on the side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the cold air is coming in. So the heat is working. It's just the heat can only be so strong if you have a window open in like 20-degree weather. Like,
This is the type of person that no lie is going to be like, when you ask him, like, a window was open. Yeah, it was getting really stuffy, so we had to breathe, but it's cold.
Oh, well, the reasoning was like, well, we had the curtain closed. Like the curtain was closed. So we figured it was okay. It's been quite a journey apparently.
I literally have no words.
Yeah.
I
So how
and
would
and
you deal with this since it sounds like you're a landlord yourself? So what would be your course of action?
I mean, like I said, I would definitely speak to a tenant landlord attorney, let them know every single thing that's been happening, whether there's any grounds for any sort of eviction, right? And just follow their advice. Because I feel like with all these actions, well, the first thing that I'd also want to know is, are there cameras installed on the property?
Outside the property,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. Like, I would, I would have tried to find the video of this person like painting the curb
I
without.
mean, there's proof. I mean, there's apparently like documentation of like conversations saying, yes, I painted the sidewalk, right? Like, yes, that was me.
Yeah, like
So
that's
I
all.
mean, it's
Yeah, so he admitted to it. That's all stuff that I would just like send to like the tenant landlord attorney and just have them figure it out. Like, hey, this guy has just been a major problem. Unfortunately, we inherited this guy. He doesn't pay his rent on time, or he's a few months behind. This person, the landlord should definitely provide like the emails confirming like, hey, you're late. Can you like catch up? Things like that. But like, I don't see why this person should still be able to occupy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll get an update and we can do a part two to this to see like what transpired or like the how lengthy the eviction process and all that could possibly be, because I think that would be very informative for our
Mm-hmm.
listeners. Like, what's the course of action after this, right? If you wanted to pursue, evicting the tenant or, somehow getting him out, what do you have to do on a legal standpoint, right? Um,
That's just
because
crazy.
from my understanding, it's a very lengthy process, but exactly what that process is, how long it takes, and all that stuff, I'm not really familiar with. So I'd be more than happy to share.
That's just crazy to me, though, that people don't realize I live here, so it's my space. I'm like, no, well, you don't. Just because you live there doesn't mean it's your space.
But it's funny because it's also I live here, so it's my space. And because, well, this is my home and I live here, you need to fix everything to make sure it looks nice.
Yeah, you have to
So
make
it's
it look
kind of like,
good.
okay, it's your
That's
home, it's your
crazy.
space, but then now the landlord's responsible for making sure everything is pretty and perfect for you as well. So it's like, you know, it works for you when it works for you, and then it doesn't when it doesn't.
Dude,
Um,
if I would oh my God, I would just go there and I would install like a more inferior faucet.
that
Just like, you said you want it changed. Oh, you want an upgrade, then you pay for
actually would be hilarious.
it. But yeah, okay. So some of the things that I would take
See, like
away.
it's still one of those water pumps. Like if you want water to come out, you have to like crank
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's just crazy to me. The fact that there's just the lack of awareness, the lack of like accountability. Like, oh, it wasn't me. Um, and just the audacity. Like, you're not even paying rent on time. Like, that's crazy to me. And the fact that like now that I heard the story, like he's an Uber driver. Like that's his job. No, nothing wrong with that. But then he's also married and he has kids. It's like it just gets
Yeah,
um, there's
yeah.
no
Like
like wow.
I mean, it's definitely like the one thing that I'm thinking from all this is more like I'm sure this is more common than it sounds. Like there's got to be a ton of this happening out there, and landlords just being like, okay, well, do I eventually get the rent? If I do, then it's kind of like whatever, I'll just live with it, right? Like there's no real standard to okay, well, you have to be this type of tenant. So let's talk about how you even get approved to rent in a building, right? Forget about rent stabilized, inherited tenants, anything like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just the checks and balances before a landlord says, okay, we accept you as a tenant, right? It's
Yeah.
really just it's credit, making
Mm-hmm.
sure they have the income, right? You
Yep.
can't really check how a person is going to be as a tenant in terms
No.
of characteristics, right? Like how they're
Nope.
going to treat your property. Yeah, you can get reference letters, but let's be real about reference letters.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like it's not like a credit report. It's not like, verification of employment or income, right? So that's something that you kind of have to roll the dice with.
You, you do. I mean, no, you can actually. So in Jersey, you can actually get references. You can on the
Right. I'm saying
application,
like
right?
reference letters aren't as official, right? Like unless you actually
Oh no, no.
call.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, like so when we got these new, well, this person got the new tenants. Like their our agent, he contacted them, right? He contacted the references on the girlfriend's application because she rented in Jersey City, so she was like, "Oh, I know the area, it's amazing." Bang. So he contacted the references, everything worked out. The boyfriend was actually moving from like an apartment that his parents owned, so that was like his first like apartment
Even
out.
parents didn't want him there. I'm
Basically,
kidding.
basically, he probably didn't pay the rent on time. So,
Hmm.
so that's why they were like, thank God, get him out of here. Let's get some. All right. So anyway, so yeah, I think that, he couldn't really do a reference on that because it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, your previous landlords were your parents. So
Right.
didn't
So
really
then
do
you're
that.
pretty much basing it on like the stuff that you could check,
Yeah. So, I mean, they
like the more like
qualified.
financial credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They qualified. They made more than enough money to do it. Their credit was phenomenal.
No, but I mean, that's the truth, right? Like I really do think that more people go through it than than people talk about.
Yeah.
So
100%. So, I mean, my checks and balances, especially when you're buying a property that you're inheriting people, definitely have to get the inspection,
yeah,
right? I mean, if you're buying it all cash, I understand having an appraisal isn't the most like feasible. It doesn't really make much sense. So maybe you don't need that. I don't know.
I mean,
I think the inspection is definitely key. If the landlord has the ability to actually be there, right? And
yeah,
not like an investor from out of state or things like that. And if you have the ability to at least go there and do like at least a final walkthrough, or even, do some sort of their own inspection to at least say hi to their tenants.
yeah.
Like, I think that's maybe resolves. I don't know. But wait, I have a
Yeah,
question. Maybe you could ask some other people. So when you buy a property that already has tenants in there, is there a requirement that you have to keep them on?
it depends on
Obviously, their lease, right? Their lease.
it depends on a few things. So it depends on the lease and also depends on what's negotiated in the contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can say, "Hey, I will only buy if it's delivered vacant." Then
Mm-hmm.
now it's put back on the seller to make sure that they get the tenants out. How many deals, given our history in mortgages, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many deals have you seen fall through because the property didn't vacate in
Yeah.
time? Right? Where now the deal can't close.
Well, it's interesting because then you're talking about like owner occupied transactions, right? But this is an investment transactions.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying in
Yeah.
general, like a buyer could purchase an investment
Uh-huh.
and stipulate in the contract, I want the property delivered vacant because they want their own tenants in there. They don't want inherited tenants,
Yeah.
right? They want to be able to do their checks and balances, right? So that could be, it doesn't have to be the deal doesn't close because the mortgage company wouldn't approve it because it's not vacant for a primary residence. It can also not close because the seller couldn't deliver per the contract.
Yeah. I mean, that's a legal
You
obligation.
know?
That's not the mortgage side, right? But yeah, definitely
Yeah.
100%.
So I mean that could like is there stipulation to have to inherit tenants? No, but if the contract doesn't say it's delivered vacant, then the buyer is pretty much saying I will inherit these tenants, right? And then
oh,
even if a lease is expired, it's month by month, but you would need to start an eviction process to get the tenants out if the tenants refuse to leave. Just because your lease is expired doesn't mean that you can go and like change the locks and stuff like that to get the tenant out.
yeah, yeah. You obviously can't
So
just
that's
do
another like
that.
catch 22, right? Like, what's the point of having an expired lease if it doesn't really, it's just one extra factor in an eviction case that you can present to the judge saying, like, okay, and on top of all this, the lease expired. So they're on month by month, right? Like, but that's just one compensating factor, not enough to say, okay, now this tenant has to leave. Like, the judge is not going to rule for the landlord if just because it's an expired lease.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
it. I've seen it in an instance where people wanted the current tenants evicted because they wanted to increase their rents a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Um, unless the existing tenants agreed to pay the new market rent and sign a new lease. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to give them an option.
Yeah,
Unless it's like there's other reasons for you to kick them out. Like if you want to take the unit back to live in yourself, that's
yeah.
or for a family member, right? Like that's a reason that you can start the process as well.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, but
Yeah.
in an instance like that, and especially with a tenant that like a good tenant, the people that like treat the property like their own, pay their rent on time, make like minimal interaction with the landlord. Like those are the type of people where you give them the courtesy. You're like, hey, my family wants to live here. I'll give you a few months to like. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would
I
start an
mean,
eviction process on that, right? It's
that exists too. I mean, it's not just all about horror tenants, right? Like there's also um a case where a co-op was being rented where there's rules with co-ops like a lot of times where they're like, okay, we'll let you sublet, but then you can only do it for like 1 year or you only do it for 2 years,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And in this instance, it was like you can only do it for 2 years. And the landlord's now working with the tenant to get like the tenant's like, all right, I'll leave. And there's a sense of urgency, like the tenant's not like, oh yeah, I'll leave when I can. Like they give a they're like, oh, are we allowed to curse on this podcast? I'm not sure. Is even a curse? I don't know. Um,
According
so
to public schools, yes, it's a curse.
that is true. Like if you don't want your child to say it, then it's a curse, right? I guess a bad
Mm-hmm.
word. So the tenant's actually like, okay, like I get it. I understand the urgency. I'm gonna try to find a place, and like, it's hard to find a place, and you just kind of have to work together with the trust that like your tenant's actually gonna do what they have to do to move out. So
That's crazy. Uh,
yeah, I don't know. I think this episode is going to make people not want to be
landlords.
landlords.
Well, I mean, there's other factors where nowadays, I mean, it may not make the most sense, right? Policy changes
Hmm.
and things like that. There was this the new tax in New York for over $5 million properties, right? For quote unquote second homes, even though most of them are probably renting them out on the on the
Hmm.
low, you
Yeah.
know. So there's a lot of reasons why it's they're also prohibiting. Like I think I also heard like California just passed something recently that for investment properties, if you pass away and you're trying to basically pass it down to your kids, like they're still paying some sort of tax on it, right? So it's probably, I forgot what it was, but it's definitely like going the way of just investments are just not. Doesn't seem like investments are going to be as beneficial, right? And coming up, just because they are trying to increase housing supply, and obviously a big segment that they can tap into is just investment properties.
Right, right.
I think that's part of it. But anyway, man, I don't even know what to say because there's just so many things, and I'm just sitting here in awe. Like, why can't we just
Yeah,
kick them
this is
out?
is an episode of grief here for landlords.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't we just pick him out? That's a good question.
Yeah.
It would be ideal if if that was the solution, easy to do.
Well, maybe
But
some.
apparently sometimes eviction cases could take up to a year.
Oh, that sucks. Especially like you said, especially if it's like a mom and pop sort of landlords where, they need that to pay their rent. It's a lot more different if it's an institutional lender where they have the bankroll to like put you through
Yeah.
the door. And like, if it takes a year, it takes two, who cares, right? As long as
Hmm.
they're able to like, yeah, I think some people like this, they just definitely look to take advantage of the landlords.
And it's also the ramification, right? Like, forget about the financials aside. This tenant already sounds like he would be trouble. So if you start an eviction case,
Oh, he
there's also the
destroyed the
other
property.
aspect of it.
He would
Exactly. So it's kind
destroy
of
it.
like, how much worse can he make the landlord's life, right? Like, it's not just about, okay, can you live with not collecting rent for a year? Like, and then on top of that, having the tenant destroy the place or maybe do more to create like violations or like whatever the case may be. It's almost like the landlord has to make sure that everything is perfect. So then this tenant has no leg to stand on if you're going to start this process. Because otherwise, you can potentially be causing yourself more trouble.
It's just crazy. It's just some of these things that this tenant did is just like, shouldn't that be cause enough? Like to me, that's
Yeah.
like you're literally painting the city's curb because you don't want to drive around to find parking. Like,
Yep.
and you put a freaking appliance that could have killed a 1 year old that lived below you, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that was quite yeah, to hear about the ceiling collapsing was interesting
And
twist to
and
the
and
story.
and just like the excuses, it's like, just I'm not accountable for it. Like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
you're the one that bought an illegal appliance. Well, you installed an illegal appliance,
I
and
mean the I think the response was literally like no. Like, well, because of this, it created this, and the response was not true. It was just not true. So,
well, I mean, I'm definitely invested in the story, and I definitely want to hear what happens. Hopefully, it works out for this landlord. I really want to, update on this.
I will definitely, I think, just for, informative purposes, I think a follow-up episode will be done just so everyone knows exactly, this one was more about like, this is what happened, these are the feelings, right? I think the follow-up would be more of like, okay, if this happens to anyone, these are the steps you should take, or these are the steps that were taken, and these are the results and the consequences from it. So, I think that's a important information to share. So I will provide that once I get an update.
Cool. And if anybody here that listens to our podcast, and they are a tenant, yeah, a landlord tenant attorney, and they have advice, definitely let us know.
Hmm.
We're,
Or if it's happened to you and you've been through the process and have your 2 cents about it, let us know as well. Um, because, like I said before, I think it's happened more often to more people than we think.
mhm.
So it's always good to share each other's stories. This way, other people who are going through it kind of know what to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for now. I think we've definitely run out of time, but I definitely and no, I enjoyed it. It was great. It was just it just kept adding.
Yeah.
It's like a really good movie. It just added more and more and more and more. Just when you think it couldn't get worse, you're like, oh crap, more stuff. It's like a roller coaster of freaking emotions. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
but
Hopefully, it's a happy ending.
yeah, hopefully it's a happy ending. I really feel for this landlord, but well, I'm just gonna say thank you all for tuning in again and supporting us. We will see you next time, and help support us more. Click the subscribe. Real talk, rates, and repeat. Bye, guys. Thank you.